Hello and welcome back. It is day 3 in the group stages here for the HGC 2017. We've seen 4 teams battle their way through their groups to claim spots on the BlizzCon stage. MVP Black and Tempo Storm from Group A, followed by none other than, total blank guys, excuse me. Followed by Fnatic and Team Freedom from North America. So much going on, so much drama. We got Group C on the hand, though. That is none other than the Group of Death, dubbed so by our analysts at the desk. It's going to be an incredible day. We are here at the BlizzCon Blizzard Arena here in Burbank, California. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kevin Michael Johnson, and we've got an incredible set of games for you. I know I'm ready, I hope you're ready, and I know the guys over at the desk are dressed their best, ready to see who can take it all this morning. Over to you, Kylaris.
Thank you very much, Kevin, indeed. Just to impress a lot of the guys over here, but I'm aiming for dead last. That's my objective throughout the rest of all of this. As soon as that arose, that's where I'm going. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Analysis Concave, as I am joined to my left-hand side by Wolf. We have Skimmy and Jay Howe to start things off. We've had 2 great days so far, Jay Howe, and yesterday was absolutely no different.
Oh, man. There was so much buzz here amongst all the casters and everything that yesterday was like the most exciting day. Yep. Even the series that we had to close out yesterday was probably the best series we've had, but we're only halfway through. I'm excited for today. There's a couple matches today. I know we'll get to it in a minute, but I am excited for today's group. As he said, Group of Death potentially.
Yeah, I mean, to really follow that point up even further, a lot of people would dismiss Group B as a bit of a boring group. It was a foregone conclusion. Fnatic going to steamroll through. Team Freedom most likely going to be that second place spot. Team Freedom showing a bit of signs of life like they did at the Western Clash against Liquid as well. So showing up against Fnatic and making the event itself a treat to deal with. Obviously, Darkside to go out, so my ANZ boys are gone, and I'm the one on the desk now, flying that flag high.
Well, you know, the casters make it to the finals every time. But yeah, I thought yesterday was a really exciting group for me as well. I thought it was going to be kind of this already predetermined group, and Team Freedom was the one that impressed me the most out of all those teams. I think tonight's really excited because Tempest comes in as the 3rd seed from Korea. Korea's always been a very dominant region in terms of HGC history, but will Tempest be able to get through the Korean killer in Dignitas? And I think that's a big story for this group.
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a look at the prize pool, how it breaks down throughout the entirety of the tournament. First place, $500,000. Second place, $200,000. And from there, we accumulate all the way up to $1 million. Very happy to see that kind of tag here. Not only that, but also the prize of becoming a world champion on the line as well. So gentlemen, we're moving swiftly on. As our lovely gentleman on the stage mentioned, it's Group C, and that C stands for one thing: death.
Carnage would be my word, really, for the C there. Absolute bloodbath at that one. I mean, a lot of people have been saying this is, you know, Red Canids coming into us thinking, wow, how do we try and topple this this 3-man roster from these major regions, which are all so dominant in their own right? And I mean, it's going to be a tough order for them to try and compete.
I'm glad, Skimmy, that you could give me that alphabet lesson just at that moment in time.
I mean, I wanted to make you feel appreciated, man. We had to get the day off to a good bang.
Okay. I think that for Latin American fans, this is going to be a sad day, and I think that for Team Dignitas fans, I think they're going to have to hope that Dignitas can live up to what they did at the mid-season brawl.
Yeah.
For those who remember, I was very sad watching at home when Korea did not win mid-season brawl. People say Fnatic defeated the Koreans, but that's not true. It was Dignitas who defeated the Koreans, and then Fnatic defeated Dignitas in the end. So that's why in Korea, everyone dubs Dignitas the Korean killer. And if that story comes true tonight, could be some sad Korean fans as well.
Maybe. I feel there's a weird thing. I know we're going to get into it later, but there's a weird feeling about this meta. I've been really thinking hard about this, trying to study old Tempest, old things like that. This meta, they have a chance to come out and surprise. We'll see that later, but I don't sleep on any of the 3 teams. This is Group Death for a reason. If you were to say, hey, can you confidently pick 2 out of the 3 that you anticipate? Obviously, Red Cannons, probably not, but I would not even dare to guess today.
But I mean, right now, NA are the strongest region. Right? We've got 2 teams from the NA region already at BlizzCon, only 1 from Korea, 1 from Europe. So surely like NA is the strongest region, no?
I appreciated Jay Howe's look there as you were mentioning that as well. That was good. That was
I think when we get to the round of 8, we can have a conversation about that. And you and I are probably gonna have to talk after this segment.
Hold on, wait a minute. Just so you know, if North America makes it today and Korea doesn't, there are 3 North American teams that will be there, and only 1 that'll qualify with a maximum of 2. Just throwing it out there, I will give you grief about it all day today if that happens, and we will just
We'll never hear the end of it. We'll never hear the end of it.
All right, gentlemen, time to see the schedule as what's going on here throughout the day and see how the order of matches will line up. As you saw in the bracket, it's a double elimination format, and all of these teams have 2 chances before they are eliminated. Later on, it's Team Dingtas going up against Tempest, a fixture that a lot of people are looking forwards to. And our first match will be Roll20 esports going up against Red Canids. And just to kind of open up the topic broadly, we're not looking at the matchup specifically just yet. Roll20 esports have arguably solidified themselves at the very top of North America.
Yeah, I mean, they defeated MVU Black. Everyone remembers the, what was it, 22-0 meme that ran around. Never forget. I was one of my favorite moments of Midseason Brawl was when Black was just destroyed on that map. And I think if this team, like the 2 North America teams behind it, are able to roll off that momentum, this region just feels so momentum-based. And again, when we're on this desk, I always hear them behind me yelling and sharing the shot calling. I think that they certainly can bring this fire into this group and get out potentially in 2nd place.
Well, of course, as we get into this, we do have Group C almost ready and raring to go. So without further, let's start day number 3, Group C.
To prepare for this championship, we didn't have so much practice because our region is a little bit weak, so we pretty much don't have another team to practice. So we pretty much play some hero leagues and watch some VODs, and that was our practice.
I think all teams in your group it's really strong. The other people call your group it's the group of death, because we have 3 teams really strong and 1 minor region, it's us.
In my group, all of the teams is pretty strong, so Roll20 is the winnable team for us, I think, in my opinion.
Canids! Yeah.
Leading up to the HGC finals, our preparation intensified significantly. Right before this event, we went to Las Vegas for a week and did a pretty rigorous boot camp in which we trained really hard and looked to perfect the strategies we have going into BlizzCon.
Team Dignitas, we believe, is going to be the strongest opponent coming into Group C. They've definitely improved a lot. They definitely look stronger, and they're here to win BlizzCon. It's not like they're weak. And through a bunch of power rankings, they're really highly rated. So they're definitely going to be the hardest team we have to face.
Something interesting that my team does before a match, a pregame ritual specifically with me and Justin, is we'll do the fast part of Rap God to warm up our communication, and it also just kind of sets the mood to be a little bit more goofy and makes everyone relaxed on stage. So that's something we do.
Let's drop the beat!
Okay. Samalama Dumlama, you assuming I'm a human, what I gotta do to get it through you? I'm superhuman, innovative, and a mid-rebel, so anything you say is ricocheting off of me and it'll glue you. I'm devastating, never one demonstrating how to give a motherfucking audience a feeling like levitating, never fading, and I know the hate is off forever, waiting for the day that they can say I fell off, they'll be celebrating, but I know the way to get them motivated. I make elevating music, you make elevator music. Oh, it's too mainstream. Well, that's what they do when they get jealous, they confuse it. It's not hip-hop, it's pop. Because I found a hell of a way to fuse it, and I'm done. I can't do anymore.
저희 팀이 이제 가지고 있는 건 포지션의 자유로움 정도가 있겠네요. 우승하기 위해서.
네, 저희 팀은 HGC 파이널을 준비하기 위해서 저희가 원래 영웅을 못 다루는 경우가 좀 있었어요. 근데 그걸 서로 보완을 해가면서 영웅폭을 좀 전체적으로 늘려서 왔어요. 우선 조 자체를 처음 봤을 때 저희 조는 되게 힘들겠다는 생각을 했어요. 그래서 그냥 세 팀 다 되게 까다로울 것 같고 솔직히 본선에 올라갈 수 있을지도 잘 모르겠어요. 지금 유럽 팀들이 쓴 나나가 좀 더 까다롭더라고요. 그래서 아마 상대팀이 아나를 많이 쓸 것 같고 저희는 그거에 대한 대처를 준비해서 갈 것 같아요. 보통 저희 팀은 무대에 오르기 전에 긴장한 선수를 좀 더 많이 챙겨줘요. 근데 보통 저희는 해파리 선수가 긴장을 더 많이 하는데 그래서 그 선수한테 좀 더 장난을 많이 치는 것 같아요.
무대에 올라가기 전에 PG 스피너로 좀 마음의 안정을 찾아서 불안감을 없애는 편입니다.
To prepare for the HGC finals, we actually went to boot camp in Korea. So that was a really cool experience. We got to hang out in Korea, which is always a great thing, but the most important thing is we got to scrim the Korean teams. And the Korean teams are really strong. The most important thing was scrimming MVP Black and scrimming Ballistics. Both of those teams were really, really helpful. They showed us a lot about how they played the game and how they rotated, and we learned a lot from them.
It's tough for me to grasp which the strongest team in our group is. It's definitely a coin flip between Roll20 and Tempest. I think it will just come down to who's more prepared to play us. I think we're definitely excited to play Roll20. We have a lot of camaraderie between the two rosters. I'm really good friends with Glaurung, for example, so it's always fun to kind of play your friends on stage and have this, rivalry show up in the game. So I'm definitely excited to play against them again.
I think we definitely have the hardest group. And it's the hardest group even once you get out as well, because we haven't got the best teams, but we've got the dark horses, the scary teams. Roll20 are definitely the best team from North America. They've looked really strong this whole part, and the style that they play is really different from any other team. So we really have to keep an eye on them and make sure they don't surprise us. Tempest is very much the same. They're definitely different from the other Korean teams, but the rule mechanics that they have always makes them a scary team to play against, no matter what the meta.
And that is Group C. A lot of respect shown here between the teams, it seems. And of course, Red Canids looking as much as they are, a lot of people say, the weaker team in this group overall. They're looking at opportunities. They're looking for the way to be able to try and get to BlizzCon, edge on through. So overall, Jay, I'm going to start with you. What do you make of Group C, just as a whole?
Very different play styles between Roll20, between Dignitas, between Tempest. Tempest, you talked about their flexibility. I mean, sometimes we see Sign, their tank player, play Tracer, things like that. That's not normal, right? They talked about their flexibility, but they're a very aggressive team. Dignitas, very macro-oriented team, and Roll20 is a little bit of blend of both. When we get to that set, there's a lot I have to say about Roll20, but it's very different play styles. Obviously, Red Canids a huge dark horse in that, but again, a wide variety of play styles really stands out to me in this group.
What I think personally for me is the most interesting is both Roll20 and Dignitas have kind of written Tempest off as they are the weak link. They are the one that are going to come third in this group. And you were discussing off air before a little bit about the last time this happened at a summer championship, they were the ones that actually took the full thing. So if you do dismiss them, yes, they are a major region. Yes, they are a strong Korean team, but you can't just let them go for free.
Yeah, and as JL was alluding to earlier, we're seeing a lot of Tyrael. Lucio, I feel like, is a great hero for a Tempest meta, right? And running these solo DPS double support comps, I think Tempest is really strong with that. And I think the story of this group really becomes strategy from Roll20, raw mechanics from Dignitas, and Tempest kind of X factor with the meta. I think those are kind of the three strengths of these teams that are really going to decide how this group pans out.
All right, well, let's focus on our first team going into the first match here of the day for Group C. It will be a best of 3, and let's start with Roll20 making their way to the stage. So guys, they have claimed themselves the top of North America, and coming into this group, they have to be feared. Jay, how?
They definitely have to be feared. I mean, that man right there, Goku, obviously the new addition to the team, has brought a lot. Everybody knows the face of Glaurung. They're so diverse. We've seen the evolution. If you look at the core part of this team between Justine Buds and, of course, Prismaticism, who got picked back up, they were together last year. They grouped in the first summer regional back last May at DreamHack Austin, and they were at the bottom tier of North America. They brought in a few additions. We've seen them kind of shuffle teams, and now all of a sudden, they're at the top of their game, at the top of North America.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, Goku's the one that interests me the most out of this team. Yes, typically speaking, it is Glaurung as the captain, as the big face, almost like the face of NA, as a lot of these teams have told us going into this one. But, for me, the personal investment for Goku is the fact that the team have actually described him being a backbone. He's the one that brings that morale up, makes everyone sort of feel the energy and almost like de-tilt, so to speak. And I can sort of, on a personal level, connect to that a fair bit myself, because that was sort of the same role that I had when I used to play professionally. And it's a good vibe to have when you are friends. You can see it on the stage. They will play better.
Yeah, and I think Goku, when he talks about soul laning and having that matchup, he always talks about how he likes to play it as if it's a 1v1. He doesn't like when there's lane swaps or it's a winning or losing matchup. He just likes it when it's even. I asked him if you could, what would you play if you had to play against Sonya? Would you just prefer to play against a Sonya? Could you rather? He's like, that's exactly what I want. I want it to be even.
Show those
no
mechanics.
matchups. Yeah, he said he liked to play against people from all over the world, and this is one of the rarest cases to be able to play against a Latin American team, so it's got to be exciting for him going into this one.
So he's asking for all quick match. Nice. Okay, so let's take a look at the opponents coming in, as it will be Red Canids on the other side of the battlefield, ready and raring to go. It's a tough group for them to start things off here for Red Canids, but they did mention, Skimmy, that Roll20 was their one opportunity to try and gain some traction in this group.
Yeah, I mean, I find that that sort of statement personally quite interesting to go based on. I mean, they've had a few roster swaps over the year. They've had a bit of a rough year at that as well. Yes, domestically they performed pretty well, but when it's come to the international stage, they've shown signs of life. They've shown some good performances up against some very strong teams like Fnatic, but they've never been able to actually clinch out a full series. So it's interesting to see they have that confidence. Minor regions, typically speaking, can have that. It's whether or not it's actually deservable or sort of justifiable confidence.
I think that we do have to mention as well as every team has the arm crossing pose before we go through. That is one of their greatest strengths. These guys are okay. Like, these guys are physically fit. All right, these guys have a good attitude about the game. It feels like a tragedy for this team, as mostly the same roster we've seen at international events since Korea 2016 Spring Finals.
That guy especially.
Yeah, there you go. He's showing the guns.
People, if you're not familiar with this team, we've seen Shrite at all the international events. He's a very familiar face, very recognizable face with flexing with the guns and everything. Even showed up with some pink hair at the last one, you know, things like that. Very different, right? But his passion, his dedication to the game, he recognizes this is his last international tournament with Red Canids in the Latin American scene. He's moved over. He'll be playing in North America, looking for a team in the professional. If not, he's looking to work his way in. This man is dedicated and really trying to make a name for himself.
I mean, he's one of very few players that from the minor regions have moved across. We have Mer and Zays go from the Deadly Kittens to Soul Torturers. We have Arcana from Nomia. He's moved across to Europe to try and compete in the European HGC as well. So it's good to see some players, as you mentioned, the passion is there. They are pursuing a dream. So I think there's a lot of emotional attachment to this tournament specifically to close out 2017 with this team that he's been around with for such a long time.
All right, let's check in with the global cheer bar to see how everybody in the HGC universe has been participating and contributing to the deadly Kylaris Ginger Chaos Lizard. That's the most important part of all of this. I digress. But overall, everybody out there has been contributing endlessly, and you can continue to do so in the chat as well, so make sure to get involved. And it's always so much fun because you can get yourself banners, you can get yourself some sprays. We saw a lot of that spraying action yesterday in some of those games.
Yeah, and I think it's not just about the lizard, okay? And it's not just about the in-game goodies. It's about supporting these teams that work hard all year long, and I think this is the greatest opportunity you can give back to a team with is to...
Actually, I just really like spraying.
There you go, fair play.
Well, all right, J-Hal's a bad person, but you want to support a team, you know, especially in a group like this where there's a clear team, you know, underdog that is very unlikely to get out of the group, you know, and you want to go like, well, they're out of the group, they played one day. They could upset, sure. If you know, I see a lot of people saying on Twitter, you know, Reddit and stuff like that, I can't believe they lost. They only played one game. They didn't make it to actual BlizzCon proper, but you want to support those teams, and this is how you do it. Cheer for them.
All right, well, let's check in with the Battlegrounds to see exactly where we are going for our first map here between Roll20 and Red Canids. Roll20 will be taking us to Sky Temple. Gentlemen, what do you make of it?
I'm actually really interested by this. I like the fact that Roll20 ban away the Dragon Shard. We've seen Red Canids play quite a fair bit. They tend to play a very aggressive style, similar to sort of how the Chinese region do as well, and they like those small skirmishing maps. Think about Infernal Shrines, think about Tomb of the Spider Queen. So the fact that they do that is cool. Sky Temple shows to me, as you were mentioning, that blend, sort of hybrid build that Roll20 have between macro, between aggression, usually sets the tone, especially for those Korean teams.
Yeah, I mean, historically, Sky Temple has also been a map that teams have picked. When you look at Korea and when you look at Europe especially, a map that you pick when you feel like you're massively the favorite. It's a map that can snowball way out of control early. They know this team is not the team to be afraid of. They don't want to show their strategies here. They want to take this game early, and I think that's one of the plans here behind this map pick.
Okay, game number one here, Roll20 versus Red Canids. To start things off here in Group C of HGC 2017 Finals. J-How.
Roll20 comes right out with the Abathur ban. As Wolf alluded to, this is one of the ones when you feel superior to the other team, you just keep it standard, you kind of rotate, you can take the skirmishes as needed, and you just kind of outplay your team in a very, I guess, methodical way. And one way to make sure that there's no funny business that can kind of come in, no mule, as Abathur's the only remaining hero with that. Just take the weird stuff out and keep it standard.
I think one thing that has been successful for Red Canids when we've seen them on international events is actually like full-on aggression.
Yes.
Just get in your opponent's face. And I think that's where they found the most success. Do they just try and draft around that here for that last hurrah?
I mean, typically speaking, yes, that's the case. I mean, I've seen Jay Schritt always go for something like the Vala, like the Lunara, like the Greyman. He wants to be that focal point of the team. They tend to build around him. He tends to be the one that goes and causes some chaos. And I like the adaptation already that we've sort of seen this meta that's developed during this tournament with that Brightwing as that first pick.
I actually wonder if this will lead towards a Genji pick. We've seen a lot of these, what Gillyweed likes to call the Brightwing bomb, where you have the Genji dash through, you send the Brightwing in with the phase shift and knock everybody away with the Emerald Wind. So strong for boss control. They prioritize Brightwing very early here. I wonder if the Genji pick is something they'll save for later here. They want to use it to kind of burst down the team fights in that aggressive way you were talking about. I think that's one way to kind of throw off Roll20's standard comp here. They picked the strongest solo laner in this meta, in this tournament right now already with Sonya. They picked a strong support, but right now Red Canids doesn't really know where this draft is going for Roll20, so that's something to keep in mind.
To further to that point, we've seen that Muradin play kind of act as that same style, as if you can get in there and really disrupt that. You know, we'll see if that kind of comes out. Muradin, obviously the new hotness here coming into the opening week, especially with the recent changes. Brightwing, of course, was changed not too long ago. Really strong hero in our current meta, especially the double support that teams tend to play. We end up seeing the ETC Rhaegar, so they do lock in the double support. And, you know, we've seen a lot of ETC play recently, not so much since Muradin kind of took over, but ETC definitely a very strong hero.
I mean, if we throw our minds back a little bit when they used to be called Burning Rage, you know, ETC Kael'thas used to be their go-to. Now, I'm thinking a little bit far outside the box, but during their qualifiers, they did actually play Kael'thas a few times, so it's not out of the realm of possibilities. ETC, typically speaking, we've been, I suppose, not lackluster impressed by, but we've seen Muradin and even Garrosh, for the most part, find a little bit more value.
Look at this Genji highlight, though. I think Roll20 is really on kind of the same page here in terms of what the potential is here for boss control with Brightwing and Genji's high mobility. They will lock it down.
Man. No funny business. They want to keep it standard. They can rely on just a very even kill play. You know, when we first saw the Battleground, by the way, I think this is just Roll20's way of saying, look, they have some very interesting strategies on some very different maps, and I think that they're just keeping it normal, and so I think that they are doing everything they possibly can, from the map pick to the map bans. This is as standard Heroes of the Storm as you're going to see, probably all tournament. Roll20 just wants to, you know what, last time I'm saying it, just keep it simple.
Avoid risk, and that is exactly how you want to play when you are mechanically favored.
I'm wondering what they're thinking right now on the side of Red Canids. I mean, I'm looking at Justin in particular. Stitches and Garrosh are his go-to tanks that would fit quite well with the Sonya maneuver. You find the pick, or you'd be able to isolate a member out. You burst that member down. As you said, Sonya being a strong solo laner in this regard. Malthael is my ideal pick for Red Canids to try and match that. But they do go for the support choke instead, which is interesting.
I think this is a mistake. I think you give Roll20 Malthael with this, and they are probably just going to take the standard Muradin as a kind of, you know, main tank here. Let's see. Actually, no, of course they have Sonya. My bad. Totally spaced out there for a second. Why would they pick Malthael? But I think the Muradin pick here is definitely the go-to for like standard, going back to the kind of narrative we're writing here about tanks.
I want to see him right here, tank, damage dealer. I don't know if they go double support now. The one thing that you generally see people pick Lunara into a solo Uther, but since you have the last pick, when you have the last pick, you can kind of flex that a little bit to counter what they go with. And since, you know, they're on that second side there, I'd like to keep them. There's always mind games in that last pick rotation, especially when your damage dealer is more towards the back end of the draft.
I mean, I'd further that point even further and say we've seen so much Lucio recently, and Lucio for me has to be like one of those go-to supports right now, especially with Sonya. I mean, what is Sonya lack is that mobility. She wants to get into the front line. By going Muradin and Greymane, you are leaving that fifth spot as an open opportunity. Lucio would not only allow Greymane, Muradin, and Sonya to get even more into the back line of Red Canids.
Certainly. Well, going back to that Malthael, flipping the teams a little bit, but against Sonya, that's going to be a decent matchup. We've seen Brightwing really fail in terms of solo laning in the early game on this map. A lot of teams have tried to do it. We've seen it attempted on Towers of Doom as well. And I think that if you need a strong solo laner against the Sonya, because Brightwing just isn't going to do it for you before the late game. And I don't think Roll20 is looking for a late game. I think they're going to try to get an early lead, get an early boss with this composition. So I think a strong solo laner is required for Red Canids. They might skip it, but I think that would be a mistake.
I mean, Red Canids in the past, they have played Cyril. It could work quite well to guarantee that the mosh pit would work, which would patch that ideal. You talking about the Genji bomb for that boss control, we can guarantee the mosh pit would land. How many times did we see on Cursed Hollow yesterday where a mosh pit could have been the deal breaker for controlling that concentrated area? Leave it down to the Cassia, and they go for the Arthas instead, so they're going to shut down the hyper aggression, almost assuming, it feels like, that they know Lucio's going to come.
I feel like this is probably going to be the second support, but they could always fall back to what we know as their pseudo second support. A little bit of Medivh action coming out from Glaurung. That's kind of their backup option depending on what kind of comes in. He's traditionally moved over to that secondary support role. Prismaticism had a hard time, I think, with it earlier in the season trying to do that. So I think this will likely be the double support. Glaurung has in the past been the gray main player. I doubt we'll see the solo Uther against the Charge Strikes Cassia.
Yeah. Malfurion. Okay, so more of a disruptive pick. I think this is going to offer a lot more boss control than a Lucio would necessarily, but it does sacrifice that burst shielding, that burst healing. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there, but I think this is still a strong pick against what Red Canids is drafting.
I think Malfurion is something that's usually a great answer into something like Cassia, right? She is at her strength when she's able to move, and
Correct.
Malfurion says,
"No,
you're not moving." Yeah.
And you got the slow, you can move into the Moonfire build, you got the wave clear, you get the slow off that. It can really build up. I really like that point you made there.
So looking at the overall power here going into this, I think a lot of people, it's no surprise, you know, we'll be looking at Roll20 to be able to breeze through this and almost see it as a hurdle. But how do you see these two rosters stacking up against one another with the picks that we've received?
I mean, for me personally, the solo lane, as Wolf was touching on before, I feel like the solo lane is really strong for Roll20. If they can build a lead in the early game, they'll command the first set of temples. They're going to the second set of temples, potentially hitting level 10. That big power spike allows them to the boss. They can just snowball from there. It becomes a big macro game, and very hard at that stage to try and lose a map like Sky Temple, given the objective is to take down those sieging structures.
Yeah, I think Roll20's, they've set themselves up for a perfect almost recipe for success. Follow step 1, 2, 3, 4, and you win the game. With that in mind, of course, the Brightwing that's there, the Cassia, these things can help control the boss zone. I think that first boss is going to be the real big determining factor. There's no way that an Arthas is obviously going to outdo a Sonya in lane. They may just simply put Brightwing up top instead to try to just keep that even to win that temple phase, the bottom one that's going to guarantee 10. I think if anything goes wrong there, for Red Canids, Roll20 just runs away with this game.
I'd say 4 to 5 minutes in, it's really hard to explain, and we're wrapping this up. It's really hard to explain, like 3 to 4, 5 minutes in, you can pretty much determine, like, is it going to snowball, yes or no, on a map like this? The key point that you can focus on, if Roll20 is hitting that 10 spike right around that second temple phase and transitions that into a boss, it's going to be a tough game for Red Canids.
I mean, even if the focus is on the bot lane just in general, then you know that maybe there is going to be some shenanigans on the way. Of course, you can vote in over at Twitter as well with the hashtags for either of these teams, and you can get involved with the hashtag HGC as well as at Heroes Esports. For now, our commentators are ready and good to go into our first series here for Group C, so let's head over.
Here, Group C is now about to begin. The group of death, as we have Latin America taking on North America for the first match. Grubby, what do you think about the drafts?
I mean, I think it's a textbook draft here by Red Canids. I think they covered all bases. It's a really stable draft that you can execute with. They have better boss control. They have global. So I think from Red Canids' side, it's very solid. But of course, we shouldn't forget that Roll20 is the favorite here in terms of performance and international acclaim. So draft versus the power of a team.
For themselves, even Roll20 came in this week and said, the only thing we want is the #1 seed. That is their main goal. In fact, usually when we talk to Roll20 in interviews, they're usually a little bit more interactive in terms of what they want to play for the week, but they were secretive. They're holding all their strats down.
Yeah, they pulled the equivalent of a no comment in terms of strategy and drafts. They did allude to the fact that they have up to 10, 15 different strategies prepared, whereas at mid-season Brawl, they pretty much had one really powerful tactic.
Yeah.
How could we forget about that Diablo Medivh
a good game
play? But they said they have many things like that now. But they were very keen on not showing too much versus Red Canids. So in a sense, this is a handicap match for them. And for Red Canids, it's full steam ahead.
We'll see if the Red Canids can get their first win in an international event here as the series is ready to begin. Let's move into game #1 on Sky Temple. Canids hoping to get a victory over Roll20, but with Roll20, the power you were talking about, will it be enough for them?
I mean, they have a very solid draft as well here with Sonya, very good win rate hero here, Uther, Merdin, Greymane is one of their most picked heroes in the online portion as well. Well, here they are. Glarung is actually going to be on Malfurion. Justin is going to be playing on Muradin. We've got Goku on Sonya. Of course, we've got Prismaticism on Greymane, and to route things out, Buds on Uther. They are Roll20 esports, the #1 American seed.
It still weirds me out to see Glarung playing a support when you're used to playing Zeratul and such. Very similar to Mane playing a support from Dignitas. Let's go ahead and move over to Red Canids here in the red. Jay Strito will be playing the Rhaegar. Vieira will be playing Brightwing. Tulin on ETC. Going to be having Fury on Arthas, and Mures will be your Cassia player.
So first of all, since there's more globals on the side of Red Canids, they actually have the potential to do an early game tower cheese, as it were, to do a kind of 4 or 5 man attack on the bottom tower. The thing is though, none of their globals can actually make it anywhere yet. ETC needs level 10, Brightwing needs support. A 4-man tower attack at the bottom would have been a nice way maybe to get a lead and then pop over Brightwing to the middle, split off to the top, but none of the teams went for such an early advantage yet, just very much feeding each other out.
I am very curious with the laning in general. Cassia finally getting a Rhaegar to come towards her on the top side as Justin jumps in, misses a Stormbolt, while Jay Shrita and crew are looking for a kill. They move in. Here's a power slide from Tulin. Baseball to pop him back as well, and surprisingly, Red Canids come out and get the first kill of the series.
First blood, very nice here.
Unexpected. Red Canids playing with some fire already, and this was the laning that I was looking for. Bringing the double support in with Cassia. Usually you want to use that nice early game strength from Cassia. They charge spikes, break down turrets, get that experience, and Red Canids seems like they actually kind of feinted that by having a weird lane phase, like putting Cassia out in the top as a bait, putting Roll20 in a weird spot where they went for the kill and just couldn't get it.
Yeah, that was a nice little surprising factor. Not going to, let's say, the least contested lane, right?
Yeah.
With such an early heavy push tactic. Now, the experience you get from an early level 1 kill is fairly limited. You see the bars just slightly ahead, but this can translate to additional advantage. It really depends whether you're going to leverage that. The windows of earlier level 4 are very small, and it's even determined by the fact whether you will clear a minion wave faster than the opponent or not. For example, you see Roll20 will actually reach level 4 first. So this is not an early game that you need to worry all too much about.
Part of the level 4 coming on early for Roll20 was there was some confusion between the Arthas and Brightwing. Who's going to hold middle lane? Who's going to do the double soaking? Eventually they got to a point where Brightwing would do that double soak and they brought Arthas to the top. And now Red Canids are looking to focus Roll20 at the top. A Howling Blast connects and Buds on Uther falls.
Prismaticism trying to run away, but in comes Tulin with the power slide. Justin, can he get away? The whole team is after him, but they are just out of cooldowns. If we just had a few more abilities, we could really kill that Muradin, but it will not be that case. Still, that's a 3 versus 0 takedown scenario.
And I did not think we'd be saying that today. I mean, you look at the past history of the Red Canids, and let's be fair, their track record hasn't been the best. Yet they're coming into game #1 here, and they're looking very similar to what we saw at the MSB when they faced MVP Black. They actually got a couple of kills. We're moving into the late game. Can they take this tempo that they have earned against Roll20 and keep moving forward with it? That is the question.
That is 100% beyond a doubt exactly the question. Take a look at where most of the player base of Heroes of the Storm plays, right? Hero League, you get kills, you can get drunk on victory, but kills mean nothing. They're just a means to an end. The goal of the game is to destroy the enemy core. And in order to get there, you need to destroy all the buildings in one lane that are in front of it.
Those pesky buildings, man.
Those pesky buildings. You gotta take them down every time. Start over from the beginning. And if you can get hero kills, that is the means to an end. You create space, you get experience, but you must use it. What kind of push will Red Canids be doing? For now, they're deciding to get the Bruiser camp and the Siege camp now, but they're not really doing a lot of vanilla style pressure yet, where they're taking down a fort. They got a few lasers from it, but the top fort is still intact. And so long as that remains, Roll20 doesn't suffer too much in the experience department.
Still intact, but very weak. Couple of hit points here, and Brightwing is the one that's going to attempt to grab that fort, particularly before level 10 hits, giving a nice little boost here to the Red Cannon. They put Brightwing up there. Sonya and Malfurion were holding that for defense, but at some point, Roll20 has to rotate down towards this next temple. And that's where Red Canids can strike and try to get the experience you were talking about.
Exactly. This will be the type of play that Red Canids will need to try and do, divide and conquer. For now, big 4-man pressure at the bottom lane with the siege camp here, really popularized by L5, by Ballistics at the about a year ago. This kind of style, 4 versus 3, you neglect a lane or two for a while, but you try to get down a few towers here as the next temple in the bottom lane can do additional damage to take down that fountain.
Can we look at the top lane real quick? Actually, Mount Furion has gone for the Moonfire build, and he has taken Brightwing and pushed her across the map and gotten straight to the fort. Hang on though, bottom side, Chulin's in trouble, will power slide away. Mount Furion was in a spot where he was initially defending against Brightwing, but because of that Moonfire build, he's being brought up in that top lane. He's actually a bit of a bully.
Yeah, getting that Lunar Shower with the bonus damage at level 7, it makes him actually a really good damage dealer, which is why it's not quite as weird to see someone like Glarung on that support, as Malfurion is kind of like a ranged assassin in that sense. Now, Jay Schritzer definitely too far forward. Don't know what he was thinking there, but he will get saved by the port-in from Brightwing, the blinds of Cassia, and the furious counter-assault is very real. Muradin goes down, and now we're starting to look at, will they dare to take the boss? Now, I think that window is too small, Trixler.
It's a little bit on the smaller side, but when you think about it also, you have Emerald Wind and now Moshpit. I was thinking maybe we can get that stage dive, but Moshpit here and an Arthas, you could go for it. I would recommend maybe moving in and grabbing this tower first as forward, just trying to get a little bit more map control, and then maybe think about it if you can get a kill or two. No kill really presenting itself here from Roll20 as they play safe, so Red Canids will just have a fort on the bottom taken away.
Yeah, limiting your losses as Roll20 is of quintessential importance here, because if you actually lose another member, that boss becomes a doozy, an easy choice. Now, big contest here over the siege cap. Tulin dropping low. He actually will activate the mosh pit with just a sliver of life.
Uther is low, going down to half health, trying to retreat back. Glarung comes in with the heal. Tulin trying to kind of wait from the team. Justin jumps in with the engage, and we're going to have Roll20 grabbing 1 kill, a second kill. Jay Shrite may be the third. No, just barely getting a hill. He turns around, he bites Glarung, but the boss jumps in and takes Arthas.
Only Cassia and Rhaegar are left. Muradin, the sole victim here of Roll20. They will get the boss in an epic turnaround here, an invasion over a siege camp. So much grief, Trixler, has been had over the enemy siege camp on this map. It's not really about that camp, right? People will say, okay, why did you fight all just about a camp? But what they're looking to do, of course, is to have a surprise attack with positive numbers, 5 versus 4, but it really turned sour in their mouths here for Red Canids.
And it's a natural concave too there for Arthas to walk into. The problem is Arthas was a bit too late there, and we saw Tulin be a little bit too far forward, and that's what really developed into Roll20, getting the win in that team fight. Justin jumping in, identifying that the tanks were separated, and Brightwing, try as she might, wanted to separate everyone and of course get the fight to go their way, but it just did not pan out well. And now Roll20, with one team fight, turns this game around.
Tulin once again getting bullied here. The cow clearly not a holy animal in this world as ETC gets taken out. He has not been having an easy time here, and Roll20 is going to capitalize off of that. Take enemy bruisers, take down the top fort, leave the bruisers pushing the top keep wall, and then they can go anywhere. And why not to the double temple phase?
That's right, and this has been the issue with Red Canids in the past. They may have a strong early game, maybe get a couple of kills, show that aggressive flair that can be effective if you're able to pull it off. But moving into the mid game, there always seems to be a disconnect, and they talked about this in the interview. We are always bringing a new team to an international tournament, and it feels like when everyone else takes 3 steps forward, we only take 1, because we always have to start over again, and it's being put on full display right now.
Yeah, definitely they are learning. Every international event, they look a little better. Like you said, unfortunately for them, the other teams are learning at a more rapid rate, coming from more competitive environments, better practice areas. So Red Canids said that on a perfect game with a good draft, they can take out some of the best teams in the world, but they would need to, in a way, get quite lucky. But they'll just play their game. They don't have much to lose.
Exactly, and they're playing the game right now here as they grab the bottom temple. It's working on the fort. Between these shots, they're able to grab the entire laser duration. They'll be able to grab the middle fort and the top fort, which is very helpful if you look at it in terms of infrastructure, quite tight. Power slide coming in from Tulin. Instant mosh pit straight here on the side. Sonya would be the target, but a divine shield will save her.
Goku still alive with Sonya, putting in some heavy hurt there, using Whirlwind, but getting away from Arthas there. Glarung gets taken out. That's an Arthas with Icebound Fortitude and Ghouls. Tulin Can Tulin stay alive? Ancestral healing! Buds isolated away. There we go with the polymorph, a little bit of slow. Rhaegar as well. Tulin should have power slide up again. And he misses it.
Buds is just playing time here, so Murder can run to the bottom and maybe grab a couple of those shots.
How cheeky.
Very cheeky, but Red Canids, this is what I want to see from them. They identify that. They stop chasing once they miss that Stormbolt, or miss that engage, so they come back down to the bottom and then grab those shots. They are behind a level, but still, they're identifying where they need to make sure not to get greedy, and they didn't chase that around.
And look at Roll20. It was actually a win-win fight for them. So long as they limit losses to 1, maximum 2 heroes, it was always going to be quite an okay scenario. Boss is coming up in about 2 minutes, so it's not a concern yet. But all throughout that, Bruiser Camp was pushing top keep of Red Canids. Brightwing was supposed to defend that, but it takes Brightwing the better part of half a minute to take out a Bruiser. Whoa, that did not take the better part of half a minute to take down Cassia there, too far out. But they forced Brightwing to port to the fight by that engagement.
The strength there of Poison Spear Sonya into a stun, and Prismatic following up with the Glawrong damage. Look have Cassia fall victim, and she will not be up here for 20 seconds, which is very unfortunate for the Red Canids, because 16 is about to hit here for the Roll20, still a full level behind, and the next temple phase is right around the corner. Roll20 is in a major lead right now, and barring any major mistakes, they should be able to break down this keep wall and continue to keep up the damage coming, especially when the temple spawn.
And it's pretty much the only thing to do now. There are no other objectives up. You have a siege cap and you have talent lead. It is absolutely correct to do a conservative push into the opponent's keep. So this is a good play. And for those of you wondering why Glawrong is spamming Moonfire on nothing, he didn't forget his glasses this morning. Actually, Moonfire ramps up in damage in consecutive Moonfires, even if you don't hit anything. So you will just spam it on the ground anywhere.
Keeping up with the spam there, and Roll20. They talked about the execution and synergy they worked on in the boot camp, and it's on full display right now. ETC checks a bush and doesn't walk away from it, getting picked up. And here's the good news for Roll20. With that kill, we're about to have a boss spawn up. They could rotate down to the bottom side of the map here, set up another gank just like that, or even go for the boss.
Exactly, and this is becoming a harrowing situation for Red Canids here. Another Poison Spear on Cassia. Muris will be kept alive by the skin of his teeth. Turn around on Justin. Justin! Muradin! How does Muradin die there? Amazing fight by Red Canids. Lot of damage. Will they get buds as well? Yes, they will!
Fiera with the Emerald Wind from the gods there, blowing Muradin into a corner. We had Sonya walk away because of the Divine Shield, but Muradin already using his jump, gets caught out. And Malfurion may get caught too. Glawrong, you need to get away from here, man. You're a little bit too far forward. Finally does back on up. And the Temple, grabbed by Red Canids here as they are 16 and about even levels in terms of talents. They may be able to get the first keep of the game.
Yeah, what an amazing turnaround here for Red Canids. It was offered to them, but they accepted gratefully.
Exactly. Thank you, they say, as they get a kill or two. And now, suddenly, a moment where they were looking like they were pretty far behind. They're tied up against their opponents, and Latin America is pushing North America to the limits in game number 1.
Exactly. Now Red Canids, they have equal levels. Structurally, their mantra was three keeps and equal talents. 3 keeps and equal talents. That's what they maintained. That's what gave them a few kills in the turnaround, and now it's equalized. They had a lot of good discipline to stop chasing Malfurion over there. If they had, they wouldn't have had nearly as many temple charges. And now, when the situation is equalized, and it will come down to a 50-50 fight, they have stolen the lion's share of the temple lasers. And now with the turnaround. Fury Zerg moving in as Arthas. Tulin looking for an opportunity to power slide in. Jay Schritter wants to cleanse the mosh pit if possible. And there we go with the cleanse as well. But everyone gets pushed out by Emerald Wind. Poor synergy from Red Canids.
And the Divine Shield from Goku will also keep him alive. Red Canids using a lot of heroics there, while if you are still up for Roll20, namely that Muradin Avatar as well as Twilight Dream. At the same time, though, Prismatic is in trouble. There is no Divine Shield. Can he get out? He does walk away, but Goku in the back line. He's in dire need of getting picked up. He falls. Goku is down. Red Canids have the 5v4. They're looking for Justin. He'll be able to jump out, but they have the victory here. They have the numbers. They can get the rest of the temple.
There we go. How many laser shots are left? It was literally 1 charge plus the 5 that are bottled up, hidden behind that final charge. So that's 6 lasers to Red Canids. To the victor go the spoils. And that includes the Bruiser Camp normally, but it was quickly taken by Roll20.
Heads up play there. That was the only main option there for Red Canids.
Yep.
Grab that top Bruiser Camp and go for a keep or run straight to the boss. Them taking that away only gives them one option. So Red Cannon, they run south. They grab the Giants, set up in the bushes.
And that's more travel time, allowing Roll20 to catch up, preventing their keep from going down. now. This is a good moment for Roll20.
Emerald win, Justin on the back. Bud seems to be the target. He gets low and polymorphed.
Siege camp gets taken by red cannons. In doing so, they create more space. That's a double minion wave build-up at the bottom, perhaps even 3, with siege camp. Now, if you concentrate in a same area, Roll20 can defend in a single lane. So red cannons wants to create top lane pressure. They will get the bruiser camp. They will need to do so very carefully because they don't want to give away boss. So a quick bruiser camp, little bit of Brightwing pressure on the top bruiser, and then concentrate around the boss. And Roll20, I guarantee you, they do not want to actually do this boss. They want red cannons to pull back from those plans. They have succeeded in doing so. Bruiser camp is abandoned. But Roll20 actually does go for the boss. This is very surprising to me.
They got under half health, so they're committing here, wanting to fight before level 20. We do have the boss being picked up. Justin jumps on in. It's not challenged fully here. Massive Twilight Dream,
Massive
but the ancestor healing is going to help out here. And red cannons are trying to grab the boss. They'll get it. They keep charging forward. Goku has to run.
This is no joking matter. Red cannons take the boss, gratefully taking that which Roll20 had started. 5 versus 4 scenario, a game-winning Ancestral Healing. Nearly Kazuya going down to Poison Spear, but Goku, he nearly had that window, but instead he will die. A most painful, staggered death, and another step closer to level 20. And at this point, Red Canids will be farming for level 20 with Brightwing, quickly poured back. I mean, I think the call here has to be to go for the core.
I think so too. I mean,
I don't know why they're still playing value play on the temple.
Trying to get some damage here, going for the power slide. 2 will get knocked back. Now Fury uses the ice block. Julian is low on mana, but it doesn't matter. There is a win. Glorong gets flung across the map. Buds attempts to escape. He will get away, but Red Cannons, they have the core in their sights.
And there's only Prismaticism and Buds to defend. Uther and Greymane. In comes Muradin again, but the boss is here. The minion wave. Don't forget about those archers. They do much as well. 50% core.
30. It's dropping more and more. Red Cannons, they have done it. They have come out and got their first win at an international event against the best team in North America.
Amazing. They had not yet won a single map on the international podium. And now, at the very ending of Red Canids as we know it, with Jay Schritter moving to North America, suddenly they do it. Amazing.
Yeah. What a statement. I think many would look at this group and say, Group of Death plus Red Cannons. Red Cannons came out and said, hey, we're a part of this group too. Getting a major victory against Glorong and the rest of the crew is wonderful for them. They gotta be feeling happy about that, but do not forget, this is still a best of 3 series.
Yes.
You have to do one more.
Yes. This 3-team group has suddenly become a 4-team group. That is very delicious. That's very cool. And I'd like to see what the analyst desk has to say about this most interesting of upsets.
That's right, the surprises begin early here for day number 3. Red Canids. No. All right, wait a minute. Barely anybody in the studio right now could believe what we were witnessing in that moment.
Yeah,
Wolf.
I mean, I really feel like everyone was putting Roll20 as the X factor for NA. They're the team that you should look out for. They beat MVP Black at Midseason Brawl. I think this game completely changes everyone's expectations. Sure, Red Cannons, they played well, but I think this game was very sloppy by Roll20. And I think a lot of people are touting now Red Cannons is like, oh, they're stronger than we thought. I'm thinking Roll20 is weaker than we thought.
I mean, Jay Schritt went into that one saying, look, I think Roll20 is actually going to be the easiest game. And we're thinking, okay, come on, settle down now, minor region. But they actually went in with the aggression. I said, you know, Roll20, they need to win that early game. Yeah. We didn't really see that punishment come across like we thought it would do, right? And we're on the edge of our seats at this desk thinking, oh, wow, Red Cannons are actually bringing the pain. I think the factor was the tanks, for the most part, Ancestrals were always finding value. They would survive. The Muradin factor being such a big point. But Brightwing, we were saying, must be the standout from this tournament, having so much value. The Emerald Win always cutting members apart. They get the pick and they run with the wind.
Yeah, I think you got to ban the Brightwing now, right, JL?
I really feel like Brightwing coming into this, we saw a minor nerf like just a few weeks ago. I was like, dude, that had to happen. She was really crazy. Actually, Caleres, while we were off stream, was like, you know who the best hero? Like, you're arguing Lucio, and Caleres is looking over. He's like, you know who the best hero is? This is before the game started, he's like, it's Brightwing. And justifiably so. Brightwing has been the standout hero. They found excellent ways to use that. One of you guys made the point while we were talking about that, whether it was the Genji going in. Somebody's going in. They well-timed it. You saw the ETC sliding in, and when he was ready to queue up that slide, he waited perfectly for the moment. They almost had to pick at the bottom off, but that was the formula for their success, and a lot of those team fights played extremely well.
And I mean, we talk about the emotional attachment that this team has, especially because of Jay Schritt being that factor of he's going to be leaving this team afterwards to pursue 2 in a major region of NA. You could hear these guys in the crowd, or in the studio itself, popping off. I mean, we know Roll20, we know Glarong is a bit of a loud player, but these guys were screaming and shouting, and I think if you have that sort of energy and motivation, I mean, going into game 2, it's quite scary.
Yeah. It was pretty quiet on the side of Roll20, and I think that they definitely didn't use the Sonya factor as well as they could have. They were really committing Sonya into their 3-4-man rotations. They had Glowering on Malfurion in top, and I know Glowering used to be the top laner, the solo laner, right? But you have Malfurion up there, you're losing that sustained healing in the rotation. You're also losing the wave push that Sonya has up top.
All right, well, thank you very much, gents. Of course, as Jay House said, you know, with Brightwing doing oh so well, that's the reason I actually wore my Emerald Wind coloured shirt to start off the day.